It's absolutely amazing. I'm just tongue-tied just talking about it, thinking about it.
Yes, I'm a favorite now.
Welcome to the Extraordinary Being Movement, where we inspire you to take action, influence you for change, and motivate you for success. This is your host and coach, Len DeCarmine, here with you tonight. And I cannot tell you what an exciting show we have. We have a special guest who's going to teach you how to grow your coaching business the way he did. He took it from zero up to $160,000 in cash his first year as a coach. And we're going to pick his brain tonight so you learn his techniques, his strategies, and everything you need to know to do it yourself. But before we get involved in all that fun stuff, let me introduce my two favorite co-hosts, the one and only Fred Martinez. Fred, what's going on tonight?
Yeah, I'm number one now. Thanks.
Hey man, I feel sorry for you sometimes, so that's why I got to make you number one so you feel good.
Giving me the little pity party, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's how it is.
I mean, that's the way we roll around here. And we have Christopher Shiver. What's going on, Chris?
It's okay. It's okay, Len. It's all right. I know I'm your number one favorite. It's okay.
You are my number one favorite, but Fred's our mascot, so we gotta make sure
he's our Spartan mascot, because when the girls show up, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's not left out. I know, poor guy. Anyway, let's just kick this off. I have an exceptional guest tonight. I got Dr. Wasi with us tonight. He is a sought-after life coach, entrepreneur, and speaker. After graduating from medical school and becoming a physician, he discovered the one and only Tony Robbins, and the world of life coaching and speaking has never been the same for him. Although he loved patient care, and he loved even more was helping people create results by managing their minds and emotions, he was also fascinated with the idea of being able to make your own money with a laptop lifestyle as an online entrepreneur. Thus, after years of experimenting with coaching online as a hobby while pursuing his medical career, he finally decided to go all in with his passion of coaching in the late of 2019 and launched his first official program. And ever since then, he's been flying high. Dr. Wasi, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you guys for having me. That was quite an introduction right there. I'm gonna have to keep you with me wherever I go now, man.
I try to keep them lively. Occasionally, like I do, I mess up a little bit, but that's the whole part of this show. Is about being human, and we accept our flaws, we accept our screw ups, and we just keep going with it.
That was amazing. That was amazing. And the first part, like the initial sentence you started off with when you were talking about how he made $160K cash his first year as a coach, I was like, it's funny because now that I've done that, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But I remember being like probably so many listeners who are watching this just a year ago and before that, when I would hear statements like someone having that kind of result, I would always just think, "Ooh, I gotta know what they did.
Sure.
Like I gotta listen to this, right?" And it's so surreal for me now to be on the other side of that. So I'm just super humbled and honored to be here and to help anyone I can who listens to this with whatever I can share today.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Now, it's my understanding you know some famous people.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I'm a big deal, man.
You are a big deal.
All famous people. No, I'm kidding.
Let's hear that story with you and Dean, how that happened.
Yeah, so I actually joined one of his courses last year. It was a course that Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins did together. Mm-hmm. And so that's right around the time where I decided, you know what, I want to go all in with coaching and entrepreneurship once and for all, instead of having one foot in medicine and this medical career that I think I'm supposed to finish, but I'm not really feeling anymore. And I had my other foot in coaching and entrepreneurship. I decided I need to go all in, put both feet in the same place. And that's right around the time the course was coming out. So I thought, what better way to really dive in, go all in with what I want to do and take whatever I can take from this course, apply it, and, really just put myself out there and show up. And so when I had joined that program, we were a part of a Facebook group. And so pretty rapidly, I mean, everyone had seen that I was starting at $0, no following, nothing, right? I had done a few things before as a hobby, as a coach, right? I called myself a coach, and I had actually helped some people make some money. but it was never really a business, right? It was never really a full-time thing. And so last year when I started that, I started getting pretty popular in the group. I would just add value, add results out of time, which is what I teach my students to do now as coaches. I would help people with whatever I could help them with in the group. A lot of it was just empowering them to really show up, getting over all the mental blocks that a lot of coaches have in the beginning about, who am I to help people and the imposter syndrome and all those things come. And the other aspect of that was really organic marketing, right? Like really just allowing people to come to you, showing up in a way where you give so much value ahead of time that they're like, wait, like, can I work with you? What do you offer? Can I pay to work with you? And really coming up with a system where I could teach people that. And so I started just offering a ton of value. And when I launched my first program in October 2019, I had hit from my first 10K that month, and it was life-changing. And so they actually had interviewed me. Basically, I had won a success story award that I think over 600 people in that group had applied for. And over 600 people. They had chose 5 people from all over the world. And I was one of the lucky ones to get selected. They had interviews, they had video trials and things like that. And so the 5 of us from the world were flown to Dean Graziosi's house in Scottsdale, close to where you guys are. And I was interviewed there. And that was fascinating. That was life-changing. Then from there, I actually got an opportunity to become a head trainer and speaker for both Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi in another competition that they had, where also I think about over 600 people had tried out. And in the end, they had selected a final 8 people. And so I was one of the selected of the 8. And so that was super exciting and life-changing. And so that kind of put me on the map in terms of the people in this space and the industry and the people who kind of were into Tony's and Dean's things, and really just helped me propel things. But I will have to say that, knowing them and being associated with them, sometimes when people see that now, they'll think, oh, okay, well, if he was, if he won something that Dean or Tony had released, or he was interviewed by them, of course, this guy is going to be a little bit more known, and maybe that's why his business took off. But I want to remind everyone that's listening that the only reason why I was even noticed by them was because I just chose to believe that I was going to make this work. I chose to believe that I'm going to go all in. I don't know how, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do, but I'm going to make this work. I'm going to not only help people, but make money doing it. And because I believe so hard, which is a concept I teach my students all the time, I think that's what helped me get noticed. And then from there, things just continue to take off, and here I am.
No, man, I love it. That's a great story. Now, just so I'm clear, you were working as a medical doctor, or were you in medical school while you were doing this?
Yeah, so I graduated from medical school and I became a physician. I got my MD, but I wasn't making the big bucks or anything, because with medical school, there's so many different processes and steps you have to go through. And so I had not done the residency yet, which is where you specialize.
Okay.
And it was right around that time when I had officially become a doctor, got my MD, graduated, that I'd come upon Tony Robbins, the world of coaching, speaking, mindset. It just, my brain exploded. I was just thinking, what is this? And, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. And I loved patient care. I wanted to help people for sure. That's why I wanted to become a doctor my whole life. But throughout medical school, I started to feel a disconnect with some of the things personally that I knew that I would have to do in the future. And it's funny because a lot of my relatives, a lot of my best friends are practicing physicians today, and I respect what they do. But for me personally, I started to feel disconnected with it. And when I discovered Tony, and then just the world of entrepreneurship, that you could make your own money, combining those two things, I just thought, wow, how amazing would it be if I could actually do this? And so that's when that whole, once that bug bit me, it never left my system, and here I am today.
No, I love it, because I always want to make sure that people understand that you were struggling at that time when you were going through this, and that you were able to make it work. It wasn't like you're already a doctor, you're already making tons of money, and that you could just easily just make this happen for yourself. Like you were committed to changing your entire career, starting over, and making this work for you.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up, actually, because a lot of people have that misconception too, right? They just assume that. And so I was struggling financially a lot. And, growing up in my family, I had seen my parents with a lot of money. Then I'd also see them lose everything and go through a lot of struggles. So I'd seen both sides of the spectrum. And more recently, I'd seen more struggles. And then with medical school loan debt, and not, it's like becoming a doctor, but then not having completed all the steps, I wasn't making money like a doctor, right? So it was this weird identity crisis I had, this weird place I was in, where it's like, okay, I'm a doctor, but then I'm broke, and I have all this student loan debt to pay off, and I want to be a coach, and I want to start an online business. And so, I think it was the pain of finances, the pain of, I know I could do so much more. I know I could provide for myself and for my family so much better, that drove me
Mhm.
to really, believe hard and launch this coaching last year like I did. And I think sometimes that's what drives us. It's the pleasure that we go towards, that we run towards, or pain that we run
Right.
from. And in that moment, of course, it was the pleasure and the dream of having this coaching business, but it was the pain of, I'm tired of this financial situation, and I'm
Mhm.
tired of being broke, and I want to make my own money, and and if I can help other people do this as well, because I had done it in the past, I need to just continue doing more of what I think I should be doing. And I truly believe I can make this work. And I did so. So yeah, it was incredible. And for anyone who's in that position right now, who's struggling, I want them to know that last year, just a year ago from when we're recording this, I was in a completely different place financially, right? I was in a 9-to-5 job. I was making about $3,000 a month, and I had about a 2.5-hour commute that I would drive daily. And so it was a very different position. It was a different place that I was in life just about 12, 13 months ago. And today, for me to be here with this business that's multiple six figures now, for me to be able to create my own schedule from home and work from home, it's been a dream come true. And yeah, sometimes I can't believe it myself when I talk about it, that I am where I am today. But I say it and I talk about my story very openly to inspire other people, that it doesn't have to take 10 years to have the success that you think you want. It can happen within a year. It can happen faster than you think if you believe it can.
No, I absolutely love this. So let's just walk us through. I mean, take me on as a client. I'm a new coach. I'm trying to figure out who I am. I see all, I hear about high ticket, low ticket. I hear about all these organic strategies. I hear about buying Facebook ads. What will be my first step?
Okay, the first thing you need to do is you need to make a decision that
Okay.
you're gonna, right? You need to make it, like, making decisions is super important. So that's one of the things I did, is making a decision. I'm gonna be a coach and I'm gonna make money as a coach, right? And so then I take my students through a process of, we decide, okay, how much do you want to make? Like, what's a realistic number that you can actually believe a little bit right now? Like, it doesn't, because it's easy to be like, I'm gonna be a billionaire next year, right? And just make this outlandish claim, but you don't really believe that, right? And so you want to pick a number that's a little bit believable to you, but also challenging to you as well. So making that decision is important. And that's a decision I made last year. And then after that, there's just a few steps, which is showing up consistently, meeting as many people as possible, telling them you're a coach, making offers to help them. That's it. That's like literally it, right? And the making offers to help them is the part that most people never get. Even for me, when I first started, posting a bunch of content and helping people is amazing, right? It's what we all do. But then not giving a call to action, not making an offer to help them. Like, hey, like, I think one of the biggest problems in our industry is not asking people for money, right? We think that it's just a weird thing because we're just programmed to think, oh, that's weird. It's like, it's weird in sales if we ask people for money. But what we don't realize is that we're doing those people a disservice by not asking them for money, right? And people are paying, they actually pay attention. And so, that, and then really, being willing to be imperfect. So we have an approach called the B- method in my program, which is we're going to put out B- work all the time, all day, every day. We're not trying to be A+, we're not trying to be B+, B-. If it's B-, it's good enough to put out into the world. And then we'll continue to build and improve as we go along, right? Because I think at the beginning, a lot of coaches get into perfectionism mode. Like, my content has to be perfect. My offer has to be perfect. I need to know what niche I'm in. I need to know what to call myself. What kind of coach am I? And so we cut through all of that and we're like, hey, just go out there, let people know you're a coach, start making offers to help them. B-, start getting them results, start getting testimonials, start making money, and then we'll build from there. So that's exactly what I would take you through and teach you if you were to join my program today. And it works because, when people come in, they, a lot of times they're focused on the website or the funnel, or, they've been thinking about their niche for years. And so one of the things I do is, okay, we're no more thinking. All right. We're like, yes, like, I'm all about the thoughts and the beliefs, creating our results, but we're going to go out into the world and test this, right? Let's put some B- work out there, put some content out there, make some offers, see if there's any bites, see if people are responding. And if not, we'll pivot. We'll try something else until we get the result we want.
No, I absolutely love it. Go ahead, Fred.
I was going to say, so basically you just go ahead and just use the trial and the test to figure out what your niche is, because I know that's where a lot of people are trying to, like, figure out where they are, what type of coach are they, And one thing I've heard was throw everything against the wall, and whatever sticks, then that's what you are.
Yeah, totally.
So what is your opinion on figuring out that whole niche?
Yeah, so we call it niche drama, right? A lot of people have that, and it's something that I coach heavily on in my program. I help my students with that. In the beginning, I tell all my students, don't worry about the niche, right? Like, it's impossible for you to know what niche you really want to go into without having experienced it, without having helped people within that niche. You're not going to know. And this happens a lot, where a lot of coaches come to me and they think they know what they want to do. And so I'll encourage them to do it, and then they'll come back after coaching a few clients and they'll say, I hate it. I don't want to be in this niche anymore, right? Like, it's not what I was thinking, or I'm not attracted to clients and stuff. And so that's why it's so important, at least for your first 10 clients or even beyond, to really allow yourself to just focus on, I'm here to serve people. I'm here to ask for money while I'm serving them. So I'm helping them and making money while doing it. And in that process, I'm going to figure out, do I really like what I'm coaching them on? Do I like this niche? Am I like, does it resonate with me? Am I able to get my people results, right? And so when you ask yourself those questions and you figure that out by coaching people, even coaching people for free in the beginning before you start doing paid, that's how you figure out your niche. And so that's been a big breakthrough for a lot of my students. They come into my program and they think, well, I haven't made any offers yet because I just don't know if I'm in the right niche. And so one of the things I do is I literally just push them, like, start making offers, whatever it is right now. Of course, I help them with, making their offers as irresistible as possible, and like the marketing message and things like that. But even then, as a general coach, if you want to call yourself a general life coach, just start making offers to help people, and then you'll start to see where you really want to help others. I mean, there's no way when I first was exposed to coaching, I could have known that I was going to end up becoming a business coach, that I would be good at it, that I'd be able to help others with it. There's no way I would have known that. It happened from trial and error. So I totally agree, Fred, that it's really about testing everything, trying everything. And I think a lot of people just need permission from someone to do that. They need permission from a coach or from someone who has the results that they want for them to go out and test and try different things. Because otherwise they think they're wasting time, or they're doing something wrong.
No, that's great. And I appreciate that, because that gives a lot more clarity around this issue that a lot of coaches do face. When you're working with clients, and I want to try to stay, because I have so many questions in my head that I want to ask you. When you're working with a client, once they figure, okay, I want to be in this niche or niche of, helping people with limiting beliefs, do you have them test it with maybe doing a workshop, a small workshop, or do you help them, or you take them and start developing their core program?
Yeah.
Because I've seen business coaches and other coaches talk about different ways of doing it.
So the model that I really teach, the model that I have personally, is group coaching program. It's a group coaching method. So I teach you how to launch that, but I always recommend almost every single person who comes in, if you don't have experience with one-on-one coaching, you want to start doing some one-on-one coaching in the beginning to really just coach people, get that experience, know what it's like to coach one person at a time before you move to setting, which is a more advanced skill set. And so in terms of workshops, in terms of other things, I don't ever stop people from doing things. Like, if someone wants to try a workshop, if someone wants to try an event, they can, but I always let them know, hey, this is what I recommend. And for what I've seen, what's worked in my scenario and all the other students I've coached now, is just starting with the basics, keeping it simple, just one-on-one coaching. I'm going to be your coach. Let's start with that. Coach your first 5 clients, 10 clients one-on-one. And once you figure it out which direction you want to go into, then you can launch the group program or the workshop. And then it's going to be so much easier for you to know that this is what I want to do. And then you'll be so much more confident in selling it. Your self-belief, your self-concept and what you're offering is going to go up once you've coached one-on-one. The reason why I discourage the whole, I'm going to narrow the niche from the very beginning before I do anything, is because you haven't really done the work. You haven't put in the sweat equity to know if this niche is going to work for you, or if you want to work for it or not. I always say that you have to be willing to fight for your niche. Like, you have to get to the point where you fall in love with your niche, where you're willing to fail again and again and again and again, and you're still not going to give up on that niche. And most coaches, when they're starting, they're not there yet. They're not willing to fight for their niche. They're willing to give it up for the next best thing that might work for them. And so I tell a lot of coaches, don't, worry so much about getting the perfect niche down. Be more concerned about serving people, help them, make offers, like ask them for money. And once you start doing that, you will start to figure out what niche, which direction you should narrow down in. And that's the exact process I take my students through. In fact, one of my students, he literally started from scratch, $0 this year in my program recently. And he's overseas, halfway across the world. And he was in the same exact position. There's just so many things I want to help people with. I don't know what to do. And so I took him through my process, and he's now made over $50,000 starting at $0. And he's a stress and anxiety coach now. And his offer is helping people permanently reduce anxiety and negative thoughts in 4 weeks so they can create any result that they want. And his clients have had amazing results, and his testimonials are amazing, and he's scaling his business every month now. But in the beginning, if I told him to just narrow down on the niche that perhaps he was thinking he wanted to go into, which was weight loss or being a health coach, he could have been just dabbling for another year, right? And so that's why I think it's so important to allow yourself to experiment, because when you do that and you put yourself out there, you can actually get results so much faster than trying to just get the perfect niche and go from there.
No, I got it. No, I love that. Because I know myself, I've struggled with, figuring out, do I start with a core program? Do I do like a mini workshop in order to see if this works? If I get anybody who feels that I can help them solve their problem. So it's always a juggling act to figure out what works. And luckily for you, you have a system in place that can guide people step by step to do that, which is great.
I definitely relate to what you're saying, because I went through a similar process, but luckily for me, I had really good mentors behind me to tell me what to do. And I didn't necessarily have to think about it, because I remember my old mentor, when I started doing one-on-one coaching in the field, he refused to let me have more than one person. And I remember one guy wanted to be with me and not with the other coach. And he kept trying to like come over to my end. And it was probably because he liked me more. And as soon as he did that, my coach stepped in and says, no, that's your coach. You are with one coach, you're with one client at a time. And I was so hurt by that. I felt like he was like putting me down in some way. But of course, after time went on, like you're saying, you're 100% right. Unless you're willing to do the grind and see where you're okay making mistakes, like you're right. I think that's so lovely how you put it. You're not willing to fight for your niche, because after 4 years of doing what I did, and I did eventually get to group coaching, I didn't like doing the coaching I was doing. and I really didn't like the people that not like I didn't like them, but the energy that they were bringing, I wasn't able to deal with it myself. And I realized that moment is like, this is not my place, and I just need to go somewhere else. And I love how you put that, because how do you help young coaches like me understand that they got to go through the grind first?
Yeah, I explain it to them by teaching them that I did the same thing, right? That it's part of the process, because everyone's gonna feel the fear. Everyone's gonna have that initial, what they call imposter syndrome, even though I don't like calling it that, because it's not really a syndrome. Being a doctor, it's like, wait, that's not a real thing, guys. But everyone goes through those things. And what I always say is that, discomfort is the currency to your dreams. And so you're gonna feel bad. You're gonna feel fearful. You're gonna feel all those things. It's our brain's job to protect us. That's how it was designed, right? It's like, don't eat the berry. Don't, fall off the cliff. And so it basically keeps a record of the past to protect us for the present and the future. But sometimes, when we're trying to create a business like this, launch a coaching business like this, it can become challenging for us, because we think, well, I can't launch a coaching business. I can't make $10,000 a month. I can't make $1 million because I've never done it before, and I don't know how, right? And I don't know how because I've never done it before. And so, like, really taking in the idea that, wait a minute, no one really knows how to do it until they've done it. Even with me, there are certain steps that I will give you. And of course, I will coach you. And my whole thing is to get you there faster and easier. But every student, every client is going to have a different way, a different nuance of how they're going to achieve that result as a coach, how they're going to really launch and start making the money and helping their clients. And you're not going to know how until you really start doing it. And embracing that discomfort, embracing that fear, knowing that it's a part of the journey, knowing that I went through it, knowing that any coach out there who has a successful business now has gone through it, will allow you to just take it in and say, okay, you know what, this is normal. And I always tell my clients this. I tell them, like, when they tell me, like, oh, I'm feeling really nervous, or I'm feeling scared, or I'm feeling confused, I'm like, you're on the right track. Like if you're not feeling that, something's wrong with you, right? Like if you're not feeling that, I'm a little worried, right? Because you're not supposed to feel amazing all the time. You're not supposed to feel like Superman or Superwoman all the time. Like, and then that's what I thought too when I first started is like, oh, I'm gonna be a life coach, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, and everything's gonna be perfect. And then you know, we go through our first failure, mistake, rejection, embarrassment, and we think, oh man, like this isn't for me. Like I'm not supposed to be a coach. I'm not supposed to be an entrepreneur. The internet's broken, right? Like, this is never gonna work. So, you know, and that's another point is that we're so easy to give up on our dreams because of the first failure or mistake that happens. And one of the things that I decided, and I talk a lot about making decisions and believing hard, is I'm not going to give up on this no matter what. You know, I decided last year I'm gonna figure this out, and if that means I have to go through 700 different failures to figure it out, I will. And that's what I coach my students on now too. Is that, you know, you're gonna, like, if something doesn't work, you just try something else. And guess what? Most of the time, it's not going to work. And then you try something else, and you try something else. You may have to try 700 different ways to get there. But if you've decided and you believe that you're going to get there, you will get there. And I think that's the thing, like knowing that the process of getting there, the fear, the imposter, all that stuff is a part of the journey. But what's on the other side of that is where the glory comes, is where the satisfaction, achievement comes. And I think that's what we're all after, knowing that it's normal, knowing that we're supposed to go through that, allows people to just take a deep breath and go, oh, okay, I'm supposed to feel bad today. Like, it's totally fine. I'm on the right track. This means I'm going to be successful. I'm going to make it.
No, and I know the three of us can definitely relate, especially to our podcast and to this movement and to our business that we're growing. I mean, we've gone through our ups and downs of, all right, are we on the right track? Is this going to work? Let's take a break for a moment. Let's get back on the swing of things and, you know, recreate a few things. And now that we have, things are running a lot smoother. We have systems in place. We're taking more action around things because we're all now unified in believing that we do have something amazing here. And now that we're getting feedback like we weren't before, just, you know, gives us the confidence that, hey, we are on the right track. Let's just keep moving forward. Let's keep failing so that we can figure out how to win. And we're on that track, which we're excited about. And hearing your stories and from your students and the way you approach things is just awesome. Very awesome.
Yeah. Failing forward is the motto, right? Like every day I'm just telling my clients, we're going to fail forward today, right? Like who's enrolling in the failure Olympics, right? It's like, it's just one of those things where, you know, I believe success is built on a pile of failures, and that's been my experience. And, you know, when we can really embrace that and take that in, it's like, oh, okay, this is just a part of the journey. Like the more failures we have, the faster we learn and the faster we get to our goal.
Yeah, no, I love it. Now, I want to bring up something you mentioned earlier. When you were going through Tony and Dean's program, you were in their Facebook group, you know, offering ideas and helping people out. Did you just limit yourself to that one group, or did you expand it into other groups and offer the same do the same strategy where you were helping people in their, you know, and serving them and going from that point?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I first started when I got into personal development, Lewis Howes was actually someone who I saw on YouTube, and he's actually, like, it was him interviewing Tony Robbins, and that's how I found Tony Robbins. So I pretty much joined Lewis Howes' Facebook group a few years ago, and I would show up, I would build relationships, offer value. At that time, I had no idea what the heck I was doing. I had no idea what organic traffic was. But I was some clients from that, just from showing up, posting on my profile. They would follow me back, add me as a friend. They'd be like, dude, and I was making offers, right? I was literally like, hey, like, come work with me and stuff. And I didn't realize that was a thing either, that was a thing that people struggled with, because I was just so determined to make it work. And so that's how really the journey of joining Facebook groups and adding value for me, like I started learning that. And so last year I did the same thing. And so it was mostly that one group where I was able to add a lot of value, and I got a lot of engagement. A lot of people just started loving me in there. They started finding the help valuable. And so there were a few other groups I joined here and there too. And so I would post value in there, show up in there, help out whoever I could. I do want to say, however, that a lot of times when people hear, the reason why people ask that question, they hear about organic traffic and posting in groups, adding value in groups, they think, it's going to be exhausting. Like that sounds like it's way too much work, right? And what I want to tell people is I had my 9 to 5 job. I had a 2.5 hour commute, right? And I was still able to launch this, and it didn't take all my time. And what's interesting now is that now I built my life in a way where I pretty much work 3 days a week on my business. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are the days where I actually schedule things out. And then the rest of the days are pretty much off days where I can do whatever I want. And I've had to have a lot of discipline to create my life that way, because one thing I decided was I'm not gonna burn myself out on the way to making 100K as a coach or my next goal, $1 million as a coach. I'm gonna learn to have fun in the process. And yes, the grind is there, and sometimes you do have to put in extra hours and work, especially for your first 100K. But early on, I decided I need to do this in a way where it feels good for me. And when I'm adding value or spending time on Facebook or online, building relationships, it needs to be done in a way where I can get the most value out in the least amount of time. And so I would be very strategic in terms of, it's so easy to get distracted when you're on Facebook.
Sure.
If I get every notification I get, I can be on there for 3 hours and then I've accomplished nothing. But if I schedule out, hey, when I come back home from work after I have dinner, I'm going to get on Facebook for 30 minutes. I'm going to create one post, and then I'll just get on my laptop and have fun and talk to whoever I can, offer value for free, and then see what happens, right? And if someone wants to come and work with me, at that time I wasn't even offering anything, but I started to build such a big following because I was the guy that became known for showing up, adding value, giving results at a time for free. And so people thought, whoa, if this guy's offering this much value for free, I can't even imagine what his paid stuff's going to be like. And so that's what really generated that interest, and that's the process I teach my students now. So you don't have to join a million groups or spend hours and hours or work 100 hours a week to do that. Because in medical school, I've gone through the whole, being in the OR at 5 a.m. to deliver the baby and do the surgeries. And, I've worked the long hours. I had my nose dived in a book studying basically all my 20s. And so I know what that's like. And that's why I value my free time so much now. And I just chose to be very disciplined with this business and chose to really create a lifestyle where, okay, I got into this so I could work from home, so I could help people, but also so I could have that freedom that an online business would provide. And so that's something I teach my students too. And that organic traffic doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of time or join 100 different groups and constantly be on Facebook. You just have to decide ahead of time, I'm going to schedule this time to get this done. And one thing I want to say about time is, one of the things I also teach in my program is, when you're scheduling out your week, which is something I do every Monday morning, sometimes Sunday, you want to schedule it out based on what you're going to achieve, the results you're going to produce. So if I give myself an hour to produce content, that hour shouldn't be taken up by me thinking about the idea and then me kind of writing some of it. And then at the end of the hour, I haven't finished, right? It's unfinished work. In that 1 hour, when I decide I'm going to produce content, that means that content needs to be written, it needs to be published, it needs to be out there, like done. Right. And I think that's how we need to that's how I teach my students how to track themselves and their results. How are you spending your time? It's so easy to get distracted by notifications you're getting on social media. But if you can really think, like I started thinking, I talk a lot about the future self exercise. It's something that I think radically transformed my life. If I can really step into my future self, who he is, if he's already making $1 million or $10 million, wherever he is, how does he show up? If he gives himself an hour to do something, how does he think? How does he work? How fast does he work? Does he let distractions and notifications take his attention, or does he get the job done? And when I started becoming my future self now, that's when I was able to really add a ton of value in a short amount of time. And then I was able to get so much value back in return from putting in the time that I did.
No, that's absolutely great. Question about the value you provided. What was that? Were you just, posting like thought-provoking questions? Were you giving business advice? And then the second part of my question is, do you schedule your content in advance that you want to post as well?
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was very messy and sloppy. I didn't schedule anything out. I would just literally show up on my profile or in a group, and I would go live. And one of the things this is something I teach in my program is, for any coach, when you start to decide, okay, this is how I think I want to help people, the lock and key method is something that I use a lot. And I actually learned this from Seth Godin. And it's basically where a lot of us will try to create a solution that we think people want. And then we'll go out looking for the lock, the group of people, right? And try to fit that key into that lock. But it's hard to find out because we think the solution's amazing, right? Like the example I use is I want to sell strawberry sparkling water, right? I think it's amazing. I worked on it for 6 months. I got the branding down. I got the images on the bottles. I go outside of my house and I offer it to my neighbors and then like, hey, who wants strawberry sparkling water? And then no one wants it, right? Like my neighbor's like, I hate strawberry. The other person's like, I don't drink sparkling water. Other person's like, I don't drink water. I just drink orange juice. And so I've just created a key. I've created a solution, but I don't have any lock to put it in, right? I can't take it anywhere. So one of the things that I teach is first find the lock, find the group of people, then create the solution for them, right? Another example of that is, giving like finding a group of people who are in a desert, right? And it's scorching hot and they're thirsty. And like, what do those people want? What are those people? And they have a lot of money, right? So it's a group of people in a desert where thirsty, who have a lot of money. You found those people. What do those people want? They want cold water. They want cold water bottles. And so you show up there with cold water bottles, right? And you give them those water bottles more than anyone else, right? And they will be happy to like reach into their wallets and pay you. And so joining Facebook groups, adding value in Facebook groups is the same thing. You have to think of the Facebook group as the lock, as the people in the desert. You want to show up and give them so much water that they're just like, oh my God, who is this guy or girl, right? And the value needs to be strategic. Now in the beginning, you may think, okay, well, I don't really know what to offer them. But like, let's say you're in an entrepreneur group. If the entrepreneur group, they want to learn things about leads or sales or anything regarding that, that's what you give them. That's the stuff you help them with. And for me specifically, it was a combination, like you asked, asking questions. Right, on Facebook, colored post questions, or like really in these days, it was asking questions. It was doing Facebook Lives. One thing I made sure that I always did, and I think it's very important, is having a hook title. So I'd always make sure that I kept the title for whatever I posted, whether it was written, video, on my profile in groups, something that would grab someone's attention. And a lot of people will ask me, well, I don't know what's going to grab people's attention. And I'm like, B-. Okay, we're going to try it. We'll see if the hook title got someone's attention. If it didn't, we'll try something else. And if it did, we'll continue using more of that. But really, I think I see so many people having incredible posts, videos, lives. They don't add a title on there. They don't add something that's going to add, catch someone's attention. So if I went into these groups and I said, hey, happy Tuesday, everyone, and my whole Facebook Live is about how to make 100K as a coach, no one's going to watch that video. I mean, some people might click on it because it's me, but a lot of people will just be like, oh, like, we love this guy, Dr. Wasi, like he's awesome, but I'm just going to keep scrolling because it's a Happy Tuesday Live and I want to see something else, right? However, if my title is, this is how I made 100K as a coach.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, whoa, like depending on the group you're in, they're like, I got to watch this video. I got to know how, right? And so really, marketing is all about how do you make yourself interesting? Even if you think you're the most boring person in the world, it's like, how do you make what you have to say interesting? And, people's attention span is so short these days. It's as equivalent as a goldfish, apparently these days, just 9 seconds. And so really figuring out, okay, if I'm in a group and I'm providing that water, I'm providing that key to that lock, to those group of people, how can I provide it in a way that's really going to help them more than anyone else? And so one of the things I think that people should do if you're doing organic traffic is just think like, what's missing here in this group? If I'm a health coach or I want to be a relationship coach or a stress anxiety coach, what are the things, like, what are all these people looking for, right? How can I show up literally as the person who saves the day or just gives them so much water ahead of time, so many results ahead of time, that they just want more and more and more, because then they come to you. And that's exactly what happened with me. Was the philosophy that I pretty much started practicing and now I teach my students is you show up and you give them so much that they start coming to you, right? People will come to you. They will message you themselves. They will start to opt in on your lives. They will start to join your Facebook group. I don't ever teach hunting people down. I don't ever teach, okay, like, we're going to be graspy and needy and message 1,000 people a day. That is not what I teach. And I'm not saying anything against anyone who does, because different things work for different people.
Sure,
but
yeah.
My approach is just show up, give them so much value ahead of time, give them so much water, right? That they're literally coming to you in droves and they're like, who are you? How can we work with you?
No, that's great. Do you still see using Facebook's group as a good strategy, or is it oversaturated?
Oh, of course. It's not oversaturated at all. Facebook groups is the way to go. They're actually going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, now Facebook itself is, they actually have, they're promoting people to do ads to get them to people's Facebook groups, because they see how powerful and profitable Facebook groups are, right? I think when you're doing paid ads, it's obviously you have to have a business page for that. But in my opinion, if you're not running paid ads, you don't even need to have a business page. It serves no purpose. People want to be in groups. They want to be a part of a tribe, right? People these days, the way business is, they want to feel like they're a part of a community, a family, a tribe, like-minded people. And that's why groups are so powerful. Also because when you are selling something, like when I sell something on a free training or webinar, I can do that in my group. I don't have to go on my public profile and do a 1-hour webinar and give a call to action for $9.97 at the end. I can do it in my closed private space. And I know only the people who I want in that group and who wanted to be in that group are going to be the one who that offer is made to. And so it just provides this amazing space where they get to open up, they get to know each other, share their wins, struggles. I get to make offers, and it's just this amazing thing you can continue to grow together. And also the cool thing about Facebook groups is, I started with 0 members as well last year. So do all my students, but it's amazing that the people who join get to kind of see you come up as an expert. They kind of get to see you build your authority as you're building the community. And people, believe it or not, will respect that because there's something that they'll see in you that they want. Even if it's just the confidence of you showing up with a B- approach and being messy and imperfect, they'll say, wow, like this person may not be a 7-8 figure earner already. They may not have the biggest company, but they're a couple of steps ahead of me. They're confident enough, or they're willing to put themselves out there, and that makes you want to work with them. And so they really get impressed by that, and they start respecting you, seeing just how much you're showing up for them, even though you're imperfect, and it actually makes them want to work with you. And I think that's why Facebook groups are really powerful, to build authority and to build community.
No, that's great. Yeah, because I've started a few Facebook groups. Sometimes they work for me, sometimes they don't. I know I'm in a lot, and it's hard to keep track of all of them after a while. So I definitely know I got to narrow it down some more, so I can be more engaging with people. Because I know I get a lot of people engaged with me, and then they send me messages, and the next thing I know, I'm oversaturated with all these messages from people, which I don't know what their real intent is. Are they really truly wanting to help me, or are they just trying to help me to eventually lead me to the next step of their sales process? So it's hard to, really, for me, I have to figure out how to really narrow through, travel through it all to figure out who's really there to help and who's there just to make a buck. And I know business, I know we're all in it to make money somewhere along the line, but I like to have somebody who's genuine,
Can I give you a solution to that?
Sure.
So when someone messages you, just say, hey, how can I help you? And then immediately they'll tell you why they
I was thinking about doing that. Like, how can I help you?
Yeah, just like it's super, because it's obviously, if it's a stranger you never connected with them before, it's a nice question to ask, like, hey, how can I help you? Right? It's a nice question to ask. So literally they'll be like, oh, like I sell Bitcoin, I want to know if you want to be an investor. Or they'll say, hey, I saw you in this group and I loved what you said. And then that opens up the space for you to really then provide value to them and see if you want to get a consult sales call with them, and then make an offer to work with you.
Yeah, because I noticed with some people, they never even looked at my Facebook page. Because based upon the questions they asked, I'm like, well, if you looked at my Facebook page, then you know how we could really help each other. But you didn't even go that far. Now you want to have a whole conversation with me. Because whenever I connect with somebody, I just don't friend request everybody or take everybody as a friend. I make sure that I review their site to make sure, am I going to be able to give them value and they can give me back value as well? Because I think that's important, because I want to have that community. I want to build that friendship with people and really have a genuine relationship. That's why when I spoke to you prior to the show, I mean, I'm like, I knew you would be a great fit for us. I knew you would, be an outstanding person to have on here because of our connection, and we connected well. And you've proved it here today by the amount of value that you provided on this episode to really help people move from where they are now to where they want to be by just some simple strategies, understanding, a lot about their mindset that's holding them back, and, just taking the chance. Just do that B- work, get it out there, see what happens, and then figuring out what works for you and what doesn't work for you, but really helping people solve a problem. Look for those problems people want solved first, not you creating the solution to something that somebody may not want at all.
Yes, totally. Like if I could go back and, save time for everyone, which is what I do, that's exactly what I would tell them, right? Because I learned all these things from trial and error. And so my whole job is just, hey guys, learn from my mistakes. You guys can just go faster and just get there easier.
No, I love it. Fred Martinez, you always
one-
have that one question that's always thought provoking. What is it tonight? I feel it's coming.
Well, the question I always have is because of the mindset that you have is you have a lot of wisdom. So I want to know what life experience that you've had to develop that wisdom and that knowledge that you have that you can pass on to somebody else, to our audience, to somebody that like, think about it as like your 20-year-old self. Like if you can go back and you can go ahead and give that nugget of wisdom.
Yeah, that's an incredible question, Fred. And I'm glad you asked that because what I'm about to say has to do with going back to your 20-year-old self. So the wisdom that I would leave is this exercise that I actually do and practice every day in my life. And it's what I teach as a core component in my program. And it's called the future self exercise. And so what that really is, if I can walk you guys through that for a couple of minutes, is basically choosing a number of years in the future, whether it's 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I mean, you can go as far as you want. And really then creating a life in your mind, the best possible life that you could have as a man or as a woman, the body you want to be in, the person you want to be with, the money you have, what you're doing in the world, how you feel, like really creating that visualization in your mind and then practicing believing that it's happened. And then that's the hard part for a lot of people, but really going there and giving yourself permission to believe, what if that did happen? What if I could create that future life for myself? What would that be like? And so once you've done that, like for me, it was 10 years from now. So once you've done that, you go to that 10-year place, you now get to start having access to the thoughts and the feelings and the actions of your future self. And so you get to start being your future self now. And that's exactly what I started doing last year when I learned this exercise. I started doing it every day and it was super uncomfortable in the beginning and felt super disorienting and weird. But I started being my future self 10 years from now, like today in this body. And I started, asking myself questions of what would he be thinking about this? What decision would he make? How would he be feeling? How would he be acting? And me doing that allowed me to just like really get the speed that I got the past year. I feel to take me closer to that future self. And so it's amazing. And one of the ways that I tell people to do this exercise is write down what that future self looks like. And you can always change it along the way and build because it's really fun. But one practice I recommend is, write a letter to your past self, like you mentioned, your 20-year-old self. What wisdom would your future self give to your 20-year-old self? And then what wisdom does your future self give to you? And like writing yourself letters, it sounds like I know like this is my jam right now. And so I'm sure all of your listeners will love this. It can sound like it's a little crazy, but it really, really works and it's super powerful. And so one of the things I do a lot is I write letters from my future self to myself now. And I'll basically, and even if it's not writing letters, just imagining like, what would he, like there's the first way you can do it is being him now. But the second way that I do it is literally asking him for guidance, right? So it's like believing that he already exists in the future. He's achieved the results that I want. He has the life that I want. If I were to ask him for guidance, like, should I do this or not? Should I do this podcast or not? should I talk to this person or not? Should I, like from the biggest life decisions to the smallest, I have gotten the best freaking advice from my future self than anyone else. And it's been fascinating. And now it's amazing because just from like last year to now, I can see myself becoming that future guy that I've already created in my mind. I can see myself becoming him. And so it's interesting because you talk about the wisdom, and a lot of times when I imagine myself being him, I'll ask myself, like, what is he reading? What is he like? Who is he studying? What coaching programs does he join? Or, like, what did I have to do to get there? And so that immediately guides me. It immediately tells me what to do next. And so it's like I get this compass now where it's like, oh, I should be consuming this information. I should be taking in this knowledge and this wisdom so I can share it with others. And so that's been the most powerful exercise for me, is really being your future self now. And it's absolutely changed my life. And so the whole idea behind that my students love a lot is creating your life from the future now, right? It's a huge trip when people think about it that way, but it's really fun because a lot of times we hold off feeling good about something, even success in a business, because we think, oh, I'll be happy when I make my first 100K as a coach. I'll be happy when I make my first $1 million or 10 million. But if we can start to feel the way we think we would feel when we reach that future goal now, that's how we get there. And we get to enjoy the process now of getting there. And so it's the best of both worlds. And so for me, that's been one of the biggest things I think has allowed me to have the radical transformations I've seen in my own life, success in business and even personally. And I think it's what helps a lot of my students step in. When they see the part about future self in my program, they really start practicing it. They say that a shift starts to happen in them. And so it's something that I learned and I want to pass on to all your listeners today, to really practice being your future self now, whatever that is, 3 years from now, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And in the beginning, it's going to be uncomfortable, but the more you can access how that person is thinking, feeling, and what actions they're taking, the more you will become that person, the more likely it is to get there, not only get there, but to get there faster. And so that's what I want to leave all your listeners with today.
Go ahead, Fred.
I was going to say, it sounds like what you're doing is you're creating the roadmap to where you need to go to. And then you're basically, it's almost like as an athlete, we would visualize. We visualize our outcome. We visualize where we're at. We visualize where the audience is. We visualize from the different portions of third party to first person, and just being in that moment and seeing how it is. So then you see the performance that you're doing and you visualize your success. I have done that, but now taking it to another level, because that one is just doing for performance based. Now this one, it actually is taking it to where now you are actually being of action of what books I need to read, what I need to go, how I need to dress, what courses I need to take, things like that. What call do I need to make? And it's actually doing things a little bit different, because now you're saying, I got to do these things because my future self is this person, and you're creating this persona, kind of like David Goggins would always kind of say, is that you got to have that alter person of who you are. Two different people. So it's like you got future and you got your present.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you get to have fun with both. Like, you get to enjoy both now in the present, which I think makes it really fun. And I love how you said even dressing and things like that, right? Because immediately when I started doing this, I started making little changes, just the way I showed up. And obviously everyone has a different style, but just, your level of positioning and how you want to come off, it totally changed. Even me thinking, because my next goal now, I jump back and forth. I have the 10-year future self goal, but then I jump to like, what does my future self a day from now do? What does he do a year from now, a month from now? And so my next goal is to hit my first $100,000 month. And so I asked myself, does the version of me who makes $100,000 a month, does he show up late for a coaching call? Does he show up late for a podcast? Like, is he sleeping in on Monday morning? What is he doing? And so when I asked myself those questions, and I'm like, wait a minute, if I'm really being him now, he does not do any of that stuff, right? He shows up this way. He presents himself this way. He builds his self-discipline to have these results and have a way to enjoy the process. And so I think that really has allowed me to make those shifts and allows me to continue to make those shifts. Because let me ask you a question, Fred. So this year, has there been anything that you tried to do? You don't have to tell me what it is, but that you've tried to do that may not have worked out the way you thought it would in business or anything else?
I'm thinking what I'm looking at is what we were talking about before is I'm in the hamster wheel of the niche of who am I, and just going through that type of thing of like, who am I? But then I realized that who I am is a multifaceted individual because of all the things I've done, but I put away all that stuff because that's the ego. And yeah. But I realized that my accomplishments is because of who I am, or my trials and tribulations created the man who I am today. Like, I have a conversation of my past for my divorce. It wasn't for that divorce, I wouldn't be the man who I am today, and I wouldn't be here right now.
Yes, totally. So just like that, right? Like, that's such a beautiful example. And if there was something, let's say, that happened this year where like you tried something in business, like the niche, for example, right? Maybe at the time you felt like, man, I can't figure this out. You kind of felt down about it, or you felt like it was a really big deal, right? Like I'm stuck, which is what a lot of us feel in the moment.
Yeah.
But if I asked you to go to that future place 10 years from now, where you're a really successful coach, right? Like you got the niche, you got the company, you got the brand. And if you were looking back from that future place now at that niche thing, what would you think about it?
I think it would be more relaxed, because instead of me going through this spinning my wheels.
If you were to see it, like you've already reached that goal, right? And you were to look back at like how I felt really down about the niche stuff, you would just look at it and be like you said, relax, like like it was nothing.
Well, it's powerful also too, because of where I am. But I'm also looking at it as it's the process that I guess it's saying, that's where I'm looking at it, saying it's the process that I really enjoy. And maybe that's the disconnect, because every day I'm looking at it as I'm learning something new and I'm appreciating it. And I'm like, okay, that's just another getting closer and closer to what exactly I need to be, because I'm looking at it as trying to build this ultimate badass because of where I was.
Yeah, totally. And that's what you're saying. It's like, of course that was supposed to happen, right? Like if you were to go 10 years to your future, you're going to be like, of course I was supposed to go through all that stuff. And of course I was supposed to feel bad about the niche, because that's how I got to the future where I am today, right?
Yeah.
And so it's because when you access that future place, you can kind of laugh about it. You can be like, of course that was the next step. Of course that was going to be my next failure, right? That was cute. That was funny. Like it was supposed to happen. And so when you can access yourself from that future place, what's happening now, all the big failures that we think we have in our businesses or personal life, they become so small, and we can look at them and kind of just chuckle and be like, of course, right? Like it's a part of the journey, right? It's getting into that.
It's adding fuel. The way I look at it is saying it's adding fuel to the headaches, the heartbreak, the rejection. It's all the fuel for me. That's what I've used in my entire life, is use that as for fuel to project me to my next destination.
Totally. Love it.
Yeah, like for me, when I was 20 years old, I realized if I really wanted to be rich and have a lot of money, like I needed to get into business entrepreneurship. And so I started 6 LLCs, and they all failed but one. And it was the one I didn't want to work. The one I didn't want to do worked out. And it was import exports, just shipping stuff back and forth between the States and India. And I was just like shocked, because I just knew how to do it. And I was just blown away, because the ones I really wanted to work, like my coaching businesses and my and like doing the like helping with anxiety and conversational skills, stuff like that. Like that stuff took me longer to get good at, like six or 7 years. But then like the one LLC that I started in when I was 20 years old actually like helped support me and make me money and get me to where I wanted to be, like until I got rid of it when I was 27. And it's hilarious how like I did not enjoy that at all. Right. I really didn't. I did not want to do it. I wanted to do NLP. I wanted to get involved in coaching. I wanted to help people in the field, like conversation skills. Like I'm sorry, you need to be able to talk to people. Like I couldn't talk to people. I didn't know how to do it. And I taught myself, went through all the rejection and all that stuff. And I want to help other people. I really wish I had you in my life right now. I wish I knew you, because I feel like if I knew you, you would have set me on the right path, because what I was doing back then, I was I did not know how to have a clear picture of who I wanted to be when I was 30. That was what was the issue, because I ended up doing all these things, 6 LLCs, all this sort of stuff. When I know now, after hearing you talk about all this and hearing Fred, I know now for sure, if I understood that concept, simple concept, and did it every day, I feel like I would be a lot further ahead, a lot quicker right now.
Yeah, but you know how we know you weren't supposed to be further ahead? Because you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now.
Oh, yes. I love it. Yes.
I was gonna say, Chris, we know him now. Now we can.
Oh yeah, I know you now. I'm taking advantage of this now.
Exactly, right? Like we were supposed to learn this all today and have this conversation today, right? Like all of our lives will be a little different after this conversation, right? So it's really cool. But that's, a lot of my students sometimes will be like, oh, but I was supposed to be so much further ahead. And I'm like, no, but you know why we know you weren't supposed to be further ahead? They're like, why? Because you're not. This is exactly where you're this is exactly where you're supposed to be, right? And so I ask myself that a lot too, right? Like, oh, I'm supposed to be further ahead, or this was supposed my life, like this was supposed to happen differently. And like we'll argue with life, right? But then I'll remind myself, I'll be like, wait a minute, that was never supposed to happen. I thought it was supposed to happen, but that was never supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen this way. And how do I know that? Because this is how it happened, right? But now, what am I gonna do about that, right? Like now, accessing that future self, like what trajectory do I want my life to go in now, and then how can I create to build that and have fun with it?
Sure.
This one kind of reminds me of you're on this path. And then on this path, you are walking it, and there's many gurus or many individuals that come to you on this path, on this journey that you're walking it. Some people stay, some people go, they go on a different path, but they're there to give you some knowledge and information. So I look at it as right now in this moment, there is a reason why, because we all come from many different paths, and we came together and we're conjoining and we're collaborating and we're having this conversation and we're seeing things in a different perspective than we had before. So just imagine what other people that we're going to see in our lives and come into our lives are going to bring us gifts, as well as we're going to bring them gifts.
Yeah, totally. Give me that value and results out of time, right? That's what we're doing, guys.
I absolutely love it. Now, Dr. Wasi, we are at the end of our episode today. I know we could talk to you for hours on end about this topic. So what we'll have to do is just bring it back, if that's okay with you.
Of course, I would love that. I'd be honored.
Great. Well, I just have to say your strategy tonight about your future self was absolutely brilliant. I think that's something that people can apply right now to their lives. But I also want people to get in touch with you. How can they go about doing that?
As of now, when this podcast is released, the best way to say is Facebook, just Dr. Wasi. It's DRWASI, all one word, DRWASI. That'd be the best place to find me. You'll find all my links there, my site, my Facebook group. I post a lot of stuff from my profile regularly as well. So if you guys want to get in touch, just Facebook, Dr. Wasi, and I'll be looking forward to connecting with you guys.
Absolutely great. And we're going to also have you on our website as well as one of the person that supports our movement. So if people want to get a hold of you, they can go to our coaching page and they can find you there as well and link right up to you too. So we got you covered. So we got places for people to find you, not only through this podcast, but also through our social media as well. So people can get in contact with you, because I know you're the person that coaches need to reach out to really make that difference in their business and in their lives, so that they can start producing the income and living the lifestyle that they're looking to live. So thank you for sharing your gifts today with us. We greatly appreciate that.
Thank you for having me, guys. This was awesome. I had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. Thank you, guys.
Great. Well, let's get some final thoughts from Fred and Chris. Why don't you go ahead, Fred? Share what your thoughts are for today.
You know, like I said before, we're here for a reason, and thank you so much, because it's like when you kind of look at it as a doctor, you prescribe the what we all needed today. So thank you.
You're welcome, my man.
Thanks for sharing, Fred and Chris.
Yeah, I just want to say, your energy and everything about you, I feel like having you as a coach and taking a workshop with you is like super exciting, because I just feel like you make it super fun, because I can tell you can do the really, really heady stuff, but you also know exactly how to like bring it forward, make it easy, make it fun, make it simple, the way we need it. So thank you so much. I love that. I love your energy.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you for being on the show. If you'd like to connect with any of us, you can go to the extraordinarybeingmovement.com. You can download our episode on all the famous podcasting hosting sites like iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and so many others. And check us out on YouTube, where you can watch this video as well. Make sure that you take great notes when you watch the replay, because there's a lot of great information here. So we want to thank everybody for listening and watching, and we hope you have the best life, because you deserve it. Don't let your life be ordinary. Let your life be extraordinary. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.